Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Jen and you're watching BPD Woman. On this channel I talk about my experiences living with, managing, and working through my borderline personality disorder. I am not a PhD or a doctor, but I think I have something that's super valuable, and that is the experience of living with BPD for the last 20 years, reading just about every important text, attending several rounds of DBT, and really immersing myself in my recovery. So what I'd like to do is I would like to start a series on the DBT skills. And for those of you, just a quick rundown of what DBT is. DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. Most therapy is talk therapy. You'll often hear CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. Dialectical behavior therapy was developed by Marsha Linehan, who also suffers from borderline personality disorder. Suffers is probably the wrong word. Lives with borderline personality disorder. And she developed this technique and modality in the early 90s. And since then, it has been proven to be the most effective treatment for borderline personality disorder. If you're going to have a personality disorder, this is the best one to have because there's so much information on it and proven techniques of how to make your life more effective. So DBT is about a 25-week course. There are 4 modules. And each module has about 6-7 weeks component-wise. You attend true DBT courses twice a week for 90 minutes in a group of between 8 to 10 people, ideally, and also have a one-on-one session with a counselor each week, preferably one, or a psychologist, preferably one that is specialized in DBT skills. So it's super intensive. And in each of these modules, there are instructions, homework assignments, and exercises that you use to overcome some of your problematic behaviors of your borderline. So, for instance, anger, impulsiveness, poor interpersonal skills. So, there are 4 modules, and they are the following: mindfulness, emotional regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, and distress tolerance. In each of these modules, there are different skills. And so what I'd like to do in this format is each week, or each video rather, talk about one of the skills, and I'll go in sequential order of the modules, and I'll talk a little bit about times and examples when I've used this, when I've used a skill, so that you can get a little bit of a world view practice of it, something real world. Again, my name's Jen. This is BPD Woman. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, ask questions. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. For those of you returning back, hello again. So, mindfulness is the first core module in DBT. I'm going to read, there's a really great app out there, and I believe it's just called DBT, and it's blue and gray. You'll find it in the App Store. It's a pay app. I want to say it's $10 for life. It's absolutely wonderful. It lists every skill. You can create diary cards. You can you can even modify the app to include skills or other things that you might like to put in there. You can track your feelings, moods, and what's even better is you can email the diary card to your therapist, to yourself once a week. It's fantastic. I can't say enough about it. I've had it for years and years now. So I'm going to read out of this app what the description for Wise Mind is, and then we'll talk about it. Wise mind is the synthesis of 2 states of mind, reason mind and emotion mind. It considers both the facts of a situation, person, event, and how you feel about those things. It helps you achieve a balance of both the rational reasons for a decision and how you feel, sometimes called intuition. We strive to be in wise mind at all times. You can tell you're making a wise mind decision when you feel settled about the decision. It's not always easy to come to a wise mind choice, and you're not always going to be happy about it, but you'll know that it's the right one for you at that particular point in time. For some people, trying to tap into that part of your body where wise mind lives, such as a diaphragm, when making a wise mind choice, can help you see what's wise mind and what's other states of mind. So essentially, to break this down very simply, you have emotion, you have logic. Sex and love, that's emotion. Logic is facts, data. Emotion is hugging someone. Logic is asking yourself if it's safe to hug that person. If we were to look at these as sort of fictional characters, we'll just pull from books or TV. Let's talk about who some wise-minded characters, what they might look like. So Mulder and Scully, okay? Scully, she is the very wise-minded, logical person, where Mulder is the more emotional, gut kind of feeling character. Spock from Star Trek, he is a great wise mind type of individual. Any robot or android from the Star Wars series, they are wise mind. They are facts, they are data, they are analytical. Thinking of, people like Albert Einstein, right? That's somebody who is, you associate with facts, data, rationale. Okay, science, that's wise mind. Some emotion-minded characters. So let's think of a few. Who, what would be some examples of an emotional character? It's escaping me. I should have prepared with more of these examples. Mulder, going back to Mulder, right? If you like the Sherlock Holmes, the new Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, you could say that Jude Law tends to be the more wise-minded, calmer, and that Sherlock Holmes is the more emotion-minded. Obviously he uses intellect, but he goes a lot off of his emotion and his instincts. So add some of your own examples at the bottom. What are some characters or people or thoughts that, ring true to you as emotion-minded and logical-minded. So in each of us, this exists. And by the way, DBT, dialectical, stands for, if you've never looked it up, stands for seeing both sides of the same coin, right? You have a heads, you have a tails. Well, you have an emotion mind, you have a logic mind. So in each of us, we have emotion, feelings, thoughts, and facts, right? When you are choosing a school, right? Maybe you always wanted to go to Harvard or Clemson or wherever the case may be for an emotional reason, right? It's prestigious. Your grandfather went there. Your mother went there. It's expected of you. There's emotion. The logical side to you might say, well, it's really far away. I don't really have the money. I don't want to take out $100,000 in student loans. You might think about, well, there's a local college that's really great and has a really great opportunities for me to study abroad, whatever. And it's a quarter of the cost and I'll have in-state tuition. Those are how, some of the dialects that balance through your mind. When we have borderline personality disorder, obviously we get emotionally dysregulated, and it can be very difficult for us to not act on those impulses. And so when you want to act on those impulses, before acting on those impulses, you want to try to make a decision where both your logic and your feelings are coming together and informing what your final decision may be. So, oftentimes people would say, well, I have to think on that, Jen, or, I'll get back to you. And I'd be like, no, I need an answer right now, right? That was my impulsivity and my disorder not waiting for the wise mind to catch up with the decision. You want the wise mind to be present before you make the decision and you act on the decision. And it's okay to vacillate, right? It's okay to go back and forth. But for a time, I didn't do that. I was like, boom, whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to do it. Well, that got me into some trouble at times. So now you try to slow yourself down and you make these wise-minded decisions. Now, why? Why make a wise-minded decision? What's the benefit of that? Well, a few things. One, it's going to make you feel more masterful in your own life. By knowing that you have slowed yourself down to think and reflect on an important decision, or maybe even an inconsequential decision, what movie you might want to see that day, or a choice like, who am I going to marry? You will feel more masterful knowing that, hey, I took my time, I reflected, I thought about this, and this is the decision I've made. Which in contrast to maybe some of your previous decisions, I know for mine, you made them on emotion and it turned out to kick you on the butt. And it was a decision that didn't serve you in the end. On the opposite side of taking your time to make a decision, you don't want to avoid it forever, right? There's a saying that I picked up in DBT, which is avoid avoiding, right? So you want to take in your emotions, your feelings. You want to take in the facts, and then you want to sit them down together. Come out with a decision where you're not taking forever to make that decision, but you're also not taking too little time to make that decision. Again, it's in the middle, right? Splitting black and white thinking is something that is a part of BPD. It's a criterion of BPD. And so having a wise mind also benefits the wholeness, the holisticness of having yourself be whole and not just acting on one or the other. This is all good. This is all bad. This is yummy. This is icky. Another reason to act on your wise mind is that it makes you more, credible to other people. We've all had that friend, or maybe been that friend, I know I have, that does, adopts a cat right away, or says yes to everyone, or says, yeah, you can come live with me, or yeah, I'll host New Year's Eve, and then later starts to think about it, and they're like, well, I don't really want to host a bunch of people in my house. I don't really have the money to have a party. I'm away on travel so much right now. I really shouldn't get a cat. And then those people will turn around and they'll be like, you know what? I don't want the cat. You know what? I decided I'm not having the party, right? And, other people get irritated with you because you're a flip-flopper and nobody, once or twice, okay. But over time, not everybody wants to deal with that. So again, the first thing is it makes you more credible to yourself. And the second reason to be wise-minded is it makes you more credible to other people. Third, and probably the most important, it stops the possibility of other things unfolding in your life that could be problematic for you. So now I'm going to take a drink of water, and I'm going to talk about this in a world view. So here's my real world example of wise mind. I know that I have made a wise-minded decision when I feel it in my gut. That is where I feel it. When I am settled with that decision. When I don't feel in a rush, or I don't grimace at the thought of the decision that I've just made, then I know that I have made a wise-minded decision. Here's an example. On and off for the last 12, 13 years, there has been a man that has come in and out of my life, whom I've let come in and out of my life, that for all intents purposes, we'll just say that he's narcissistic, but he love bombs me. He, tells me the things I want to hear. He future fakes with me. He can be very loving and understanding, and he can also be incredibly cruel and hurtful. And more than not, it's the latter. He's hurtful and cruel. And over the last 10, 12 years, I've entered in and out of relationships with him. He lives in a different country. I went to go visit this country where hadn't seen him in about 10, 11 years, and I rekindled this relationship with him. And I thought, well, we were different people back then. This is different. This is the whole flight there, which was almost 24 hours. I made a whole list of all the reasons why. We'll just call him Mr. X. Literally. Here are all the reasons I wrote down, all the logical reasons. I literally wrote them down of all the reasons why I shouldn't see him. I wrote down all of the things that he had done to me, all of the reasons why, he's not a healthy person for me. All of the terrible things he said, they were traumatic, and they continue to be traumatic. When I got there, right on the ground, I promised myself, you're not going to go see him. You can wait until after you've done your sightseeing. I was going to be there several weeks. Of course, as soon as I got off the plane, I got showered, I got gussied up, and I went right there to see him. Boom, right? And there goes the emotion. And then he's touching my leg, and, we're ending up in bed, and, we're in a relationship again. Well, came back home. We made all of these lofty plans. I'm gonna move there. We're gonna be together. We're gonna start this wonderful new life, And the same behaviors from him started again. And the calls and texts were less and less. I suspected that he was cheating on me. He was still abusing, I think, substances, even though he said he was not. He was just a social drinker. He still never had money. And he was super invalidating to my BPD and my recovery. He literally would say, invalidation is stupid. You're only using that as an excuse, right? So I knew sooner rather than later, okay, nothing's changed here. We've had plenty of adult conversations. I'm not getting what I need. This is out. I'm done. And I waited a week. It was over Thanksgiving week. And I said, you need to reflect on what you think you're doing in this relationship that is causing these breakdowns. And then you can come talk to me. And I said, because I know you're not big on self-reflection, I'm sure I'm not going to hear from you for a while. Which honestly, at that point was fine, because I needed a fucking break from this guy. It was destroying me. It was literally emotionally destroying me. Almost killing me. And I didn't hear from him. And a week went by. I was like, right, that's it. I'm not giving him any more power. I'm not giving him any more chances. I'm looking at things from 10 years ago. I'm looking at things from right now, and nothing's fucking changed. Excuse my language, but this still gets me pretty riled up. So I made another list, okay? I made a list of things that he said and things that he did. I made a list of promises he made and what really transpired. I made a list of what I wanted my relationship to look like and what it actually looked like. And that was literally a list of emotion mind, what I wanted, what I felt, and logic, facts, what he did, what he said, things that you could enter into a court of law. And I said, I'm done. This is it. I'm done with you. This is it. And I broke it off. So it's almost been a year now, and I've tried to go no contact. I will admit, sometimes I get very angry, and I'll say something nasty, and then I'll block him again. At one point, I wanted to get back together. That was short-lived, and that I think ties in a little bit more to trauma bonding and kind of being gaslighted, brainwashed, if you will. But I knew that, and I still know, that this, bottom line, is a toxic person for me. And even though I have, people always say, oh, why do you go back to your abuser? Why does a woman go back to a guy who hits them? Well, if the guy hit you, every single day, all the time, and was never nice, yeah, it would be a pretty easy decision to leave that, right? But they don't. They intermittently reinforce it with periods of being normal, being nice, being loving, being thoughtful, doing things, showing things, making plans, buying you a gift, whatever. And there was a lot of that was wrapped up in me. We had this magical time when I was over there. And I'm still sad to a degree that those plans haven't worked out. But that is the emotion. That is the what if. That was the fantasy time. He really couldn't live up. You know, we could all put on a front for a little while, but he really could not live up to what I really needed and how I really need to be treated. And so, even though there still exists this reason mind, there's also this emotion mind that says, you want him, you love him, go back to him, you miss talking to him, you miss this. But I go back to my lists. Here are the things that he said. Do I really miss this? I've saved voice clips and texts so that I can go back to literally things that make my stomach flip-flop and make me feel sick. This is my example of using my wise mind, okay? Acting on the decision that is best for you, that makes you look credible to yourself, you look credible to other people, and that saves you from making more decisions that could be destructive or ineffective. Should I have moved there, I would most likely have started drinking again. I've been sober a very long time. I would have been his financial benefactor. I already have been. He already owes me a lot of money. I would have been isolated. You know, I would be in this foreign place. I would probably, if we lived together, I would have just kicked him out. So that saved me from number 3. Number 2, you know, it made me more credible to other people. But honestly, the most important part to me was feeling credible to myself. And even though I still miss him and I can't always explain the reasons why, I'm glad that he's gone. So that's my description of what wise mind is and my example. I would really love to hear your thoughts, your questions. Have you always, you know, in the section below, answer, you know, have you used wise mind more than you've used emotion mind? Has emotion mind gotten you into more trouble? Thanks again for tuning in. And the next skill that I'll talk about in the mindfulness module will be the observe technique. So thank you so much. Tune in later. Bye.